Shut up and sit down.
Good morning, Mets fans, and what's up, Mets fans? Welcome back to Talking Mets at Rob, and the first of many Mets Talk Lives, the morning show, weekly, every week for the rest of the season. So welcome to the first show of Mets Talk Live, the morning show, weekly shows, and of course, we will have special guests on weekly. And of course, what else are we going to be talking about but the boys in orange and blue, the New York Mets? So welcome to the show, guys. Make sure you hit on that like button and make sure you subscribe to the channel as well. So what is this show all about? Well, this is for the morning Mets fans, the Mets fans that have to go to work, the Mets fans that might be at work at the moment and just don't want to really do the work at work and want to listen and talk about some Mets as well. And there's not a lot of shows basically in the morning for Mets shows. So I thought I start a weekly show just to get everybody talking about the Mets in the morning, especially prior to a game that night. I think it's a lot to talk about. So what do we have here? We have the topics of the day, of the week, of the next couple of weeks, probably talking about the Mets 10-game homestand, the home road splits that we kind of didn't really get into last night on the roundtable. The core four we're going to talk about a little bit more. 58 games until the trade deadline, and the trade deadline on July 31st. And I want to bring up some channel news is that I will be selling pre-sale channel logo t-shirts starting Monday, and that is Memorial Day. I just wanted to let everybody know that information, and the shirts that you're going to want or might not want, but you're going to have a chance to buy the t-shirt with the channel logo. And of course, the motto of the channel, for real Mets fans, will be on the shirt as well. I have a couple of designs in mind that I put through, and I'm going to actually put up a poll today actually to see what shirts you are going to like the most, and that would be the shirt that I will be selling. So I want to make sure you guys have the option of picking a shirt that you actually like as the main shirt of the channel. And again, that's $25. That is included. The shipping is free and all that stuff. So the shirt will be $25. And there'll be a couple of methods of payments, Venmo, PayPal, all that fun stuff as well to actually get the shirt. And it's a pre-sale because I want to make sure I get the right number of shirts and the right sizes for everybody who needs it, because I don't want to buy too many large, and I got a lot of medium that people bought. So I just want to make sure of that. So I appreciate it if you guys want the shirt, and I will put up a community post of when how you can purchase it. And once I get a number of shirts that people purchase, I will give you all the information you need to make sure you send the payment to wherever. And also I need your email so I can tell you when I send the shirt out once I get the shirts, because obviously I got to get the shirts printed, and then I get them, and then I'll give them to you guys. So make sure we get all that settled when that time comes on Monday. And I will have a poll up today for 3 different types of shirts. Most people want black shirts. The white shirts, people just seem not to like that much. So I'm going to go with the black shirt with my logo and my motto, for real Mets fans. So make sure you look out for that community post today so you can vote on which shirt you think is best that should be on the market for you guys to buy. All right, guys. So let's get into our New York Mets. And Brad says, I know it's crazy, but I think they will go 7-3. Listen, I said this on the roundtable yesterday, right? there was a lot of negativity on the roundtable yesterday. And I want to give a shout out to my coworker Tim, who filled in for Chris yesterday on the roundtable. I always appreciate him coming on. First time on the roundtable, first time on my channel, and we work together. So I will be in contact with him enough to fill in for other shows or come on a Mets talk show in the morning if he wants to as well. So I will have special guests on every single week. As soon as I get going a little bit more, I'll probably get, more content creators on. I'll get people, try to get some writers on as well. So you guys have a little bit of different perspective than my own during the course of this morning show, which will be about an hour long. Again, the times will change, but it will definitely be before midday, 12 o'clock. That's for sure, because it won't be a morning show anymore. It would be an afternoon show. So that's where we're going to start here with this show. So the New York Mets got a 10-game homestand, right? Brad brought up, he thinks it might be crazy, but he thinks they'll go 7-3. I think that's the minimum homestand where I can say, you know what? We're a couple of games under 500 at that point after that 7-3 homestand. And we face two teams in the Diamondbacks and the Giants who are in front of us in the wild card. I know it's something that a lot of people don't like to talk about, but look at the standings at the right bottom of your screen, guys. We're 4 games out of a wild card spot. Look of the two teams that are right under the San Diego Padres, the San Francisco Giants and the Arizona Diamondbacks, right? Both of those teams the New York Mets face over the next 10-game homestand, right? In between that is the Dodgers. We know that's going to be tough as well. So we have to look at it in many different ways. Number one, it's got to be a get-right homestand. And if you saw the opening thumbnail, what did it say? Do or die homestand. That's exactly what it is. Decision time for the Mets. Those were the two questions. Those were the two statements that were on the opening screen, right? Why is that? Because this is do or die. The New York Mets 10-game homestand, because of the teams they're facing, number one, and it takes away another 10 games from the 58 that are left prior to the deadline. That's where we are right now with the Mets. So, yes, it is do or die. This 10-game homestand could be an out-and-out disaster. Now, if Brad's record flips and they're 3-7 on this 10-game homestand, well, guess what? Everybody would be talking about the deadline. Everybody would be talking about Alonso and everybody on one-year deals that are on this team and where they're going to go at the trade deadline and what is Stearns going to do at the trade deadline. And is he going to trade Pete Alonso? That's going to be the talk. And that's the last thing any Met fan wants to talk about right now, because we're not even 60 games into the season yet, and our season would be over. We can't have that right now, right? I want a situation at the deadline where it makes David Stearns' decision tough to make the buy or sell call at the deadline. That's what I want. I want them to make it tough for all of us and David Stearns, right? Because if it's now, we would all be excited if the Mets really go after it over the next 58 games before the deadline and they're within striking distance. And what I mean, listen, 4 games is striking distance. All you need is one good week, especially when you're facing the teams like the Diamondbacks and the Giants that are right under the third wild card spot. You have to win those games, right? That's why this is so important. Not only is it a 10-game homestand that is always when you need to get right, but you're facing the teams that are in front of you, which are so important as well, that makes this homestand not just definitely important, but uber important. That's the idea. That's the point. And that's where you have to look at this 10-game homestand and have a little bit of butterflies in your stomach and get nervous about this homestand, because this is do or die. This is the season right here. Very simple. Patrick, how you doing? And I will get to everybody in the chat and say what's up to you guys as well. That's the whole idea about this homestand, right? Look, 10-game homestands, that's a long homestand. It can be very fun, or it can be an out and outright disaster, or it can be dead in the middle where it's like, eh. Because if they go 5-5, guys, we're back where we started again, 7 games over 500. That's not getting us anywhere. That's not getting you anywhere close to where you need to be. And where the Mets in 2024 need to be is close enough to a wild card spot. Now, if the Mets are 4 games where they are right now out of a wild card spot, even though there might be a lot of teams in front of them, it was very similar to last year, right? Does David Stearns make the call to sell at the deadline 4 games out of a wild card spot? And once the 58 games are up and it's the deadline, they played 107 games. So there's less than 55 games left in the season. So you have 107 games worth of results to determine if you're going to be buyers or sellers. So I think that's more than enough. That's past 3/4 of the season to determine if you're going to be buyers or sellers. And David Stern right now doesn't have to make a decision right now. But this 10-game homestand could make his decision a hell of a lot easier. 48 games till the deadline after the 10-game homestand. That's where we are. Like, I thought it was around 42 to 44 games. I did a quick count prior to the stream, and that's why I was like, wow, 58 games. That's almost 2 months of ball. There's a lot that can happen in 2 months, right? Chris talked about it on the roundtable not last night, but the last roundtable we had. Even last night we talked about it a little. All you need is to go on a run. You need a week and a half of a run, which is a 10-game homestand. You go 7-3 or better, you will bet your bottom dollar that Met fans will get excited once again, just like we did when we won 12 out of 15, the 12 out of the 15 stretch. It gets you excited again because that means the Mets played well. That means they played well as a team. That means the offense actually looked like a baseball team at home for the first time in God knows when, probably since 2022. So that's where we have to really dive deep into the 10-game homestand. And that leads us to our next topic, which is the home and road splits. And we'll get to that in just a second, but I want to give a shout out to everybody in the chat right now. The Back It Up Binge podcast, we got Robert in the chat, we got Brad, we got Steven, we got Duran, we got another Robert, we got Ricardo, we got Adam, Patrick, Christopher, Stony, and Ocean View Coffee Shop. It's a perfect segue for the morning show, guys. Ocean View Coffee Shop. That's awesome. Rob, I keep hearing about the Mets selling. The Mets are only 4 games back at the walk. I agree. Listen, that's why I brought it up. But that's why I brought up both questions. What if? Now, it's too early to talk about selling because it's so early into the season. You played, 49 games? Like, it's early still. But after the 10 games, you got a little over a month until the deadline. After the 10-game stretch, you will have 48 games until the deadline, right? You can't go 3-7 because that puts you well over 10 games over 500. And that's a problem because that's in no man's land. That is, that is oblivion. That is people stop caring type of record. You can't have that, right? There was Met fans last year at the deadline or a few days before the deadline when the Mets decided to trade David Robinson, even when they were playing a little bit better. But I believe they were 5.5 games out of a wild card spot, but they weren't playing good enough where it's like, okay, this team can go on a run. And a lot of people were upset. And then when the deadline came and they traded Scherzer, they traded Verlander, they traded other pieces, the Mark Hannas of the world, they traded all those guys, right? Why did they do that? Because they didn't believe in the team. That's it. And there's nobody but to blame but the 26 guys on the roster. Don't blame, at the time, Billy Epler, even though I think David Stearns had a lot to do with the deadline last year. Don't blame Steve Cohen. Don't blame any manager or front office guy, doesn't matter. The fact of the matter is, the guys on the field, the guys on that 26-man roster were the reason the Mets had to make that decision of being sellers at the deadline. It's very simple. Don't blame everybody else. Don't feel bad for the players. They put their organization, they put Billy Epler in a terrible spot because it was a no-win situation for Billy Epler and company. There was no way to get out of that without the fans going crazy. Now, there were some fans that were realistic. Like, I told people, take your emotion out of it. You have to. It's tough as a fan, but you have to, right? Me, Chris, Nelson, Hayden, we were all on a long trade deadline special a few days before and the day of the trade deadline. You have to take your emotion out of it. Was I happy that they were selling? No. I want to have a season past the trade deadline. August and September was dog shit, guys. It was absolutely dog shit. Why was it dog shit? Because I didn't care about watching games. I didn't get home from work and say, oh my God, I got to turn on the Met game. No, I did what other things I had to do. You know, the playoffs were on for hockey and basketball. I watched that. You know, when I got home, I didn't turn on the TV to watch the Mets. Can't miss TV. It was so irrelevant where we were having roundtables weekly that we weren't even talking about the games anymore. We were talking about what are they going to do in the offseason? Is David Stearns going to be the GM? That's what we were talking about in August and September last year. That's what we were talking about. That's the problem. I can't do that anymore, guys. I'm going to go fucking nuts. All right. And we got other people in there as well. We got Carlos in here. I'm sorry if I missed somebody. Let me see. I don't think I did. Carlos, Eloise, we got Adele, and I think I saw Christopher already. All right. The Mets are in a position they are in because they stressed run prevention more than run production. Yeah, Eloise, I understand that. And that's a philosophy that Stearns really did very well in Milwaukee. Like, let's not take this one group of a team that he didn't have much of his hands on because a lot of the core guys aren't his guys. He brought in a lot of one-year deal guys, one-year deal with option guys. He brought guys in with options, either tradable options or options where they can retain them after the season. It's hard to judge David Stearns when he doesn't have his hands all over this team yet, right? This was a kind of a, throw something at the wall and see what sticks. This was the year because he knows he has a ton of money coming off the books after this season. Because I think the Mets might have like 9 guys on their roster that are currently on the roster that are under contract, maybe 10. So that's 16 other guys that won't be on this team, and that's a huge number. So what does that tell you? That tells you David Stearns is setting up for this offseason to do what he needs to do to put his stamp of approval on this team in 2025. Right? So it's unfair to judge him. And yes, run prevention is important, but you also have to have your guys to implement that philosophy. This is not his team. Yeah, it might be. A lot of people might consider that because, well, he is the president of baseball ops in 2024. But this is not his team officially yet. It's not going to be his team until 2025, 2026, those 2 years. And it will start this offseason because a ton of money coming off the books. A ton of players are going to be free agents on this team. Depending on the trade deadline, there might be even more players that people might think would have been on this team, not on this team because they got traded. There's a lot to look at here. And you have to remember, this is not David Stearns' team. So run prevention is important. Again, you don't make the playoffs 6 out of the 8 years you were GM of the Brewers and use that philosophy with a really good bullpen and run prevention and you make the playoffs 6 out of 8 years. The Mets, I would sign on the dotted line for that if that was the case over the next 8 years for the New York Mets. Making a playoff 6 out of 8 years, that's unheard of in Mets history. So let's trust David Stearns, as Duran just said in the comments. Run prevention is important. Yes, you got to score runs. But guys, if you look at this year as a whole, the Mets have played in a lot of close games, no matter if they were low-scoring games or high-scoring games. They lost a lot of 1-2-run games. They're just at the precipice here of getting over that line to win those close games. It takes a hit here and maybe an inning or two pitching wise to get you over the top, right? The Diaz blown save or the blown game in Miami, right? That's another win. Like, you can go back to a lot of games already where the Mets should have won those games. And you could say shoulda, coulda, woulda. Yeah, absolutely. You could say that about wins as well. But they've played a lot of close games. So they're right there to jump over that line to get a couple of more of those wins in those close games. They got to learn how to do it. They got 58 games until the deadline to do it. That is your pressure point of immortality, basically. It's either sell or buy. And the players determine that on the field. That's it. So they're in a 10-game homestand. Their road numbers are drastically better than their home. Their road splits. Home and road splits are drastically different. I believe it was 5.5 runs per game on the road, and they're just over 2.5 runs per game at home. You're not winning ball games like that. I don't care if you play on the freaking moon. You're not gonna win ball games scoring 2.5 runs per ball game. That's not happening. I don't care who's pitching on the mound. You could bring Tom Seaver in his prime. You're not winning ball games. Shoot, you can bring back Jacob deGrom back. You're not winning those ball games. It's just that simple. So they got to figure it out. And this leads to topic number 3. It leads to the core 4. Yes, I sound like a broken record. Yes, it's sickening to listen to every single show, on every single podcast, on every single YouTube channel, right? You can go on you can pick a Mets YouTuber, whichever one you might want to watch or check out. We're all talking about the core 4. They're talking about the main guys, right? Mets Weekly Pod, who had Tempestuous Podcast on yesterday prior to the roundtable. They talked about it. Is this core good enough? Are the main guys good enough? They talked about individual guys, right? We're not always going to agree on who should be here and who isn't the leader and who is, if they have leaders at all. The fact of the matter is, this team is where it's at because of all the main guys as a group, right? Individual stats are beautiful, are cute. You know what they show up? They show up on Mets records in history. Possibly retired numbers, and they talk about their stats. Or possibly a Hall of Famer, and then you hear about their stats, right? That's individual accolades. I want team accolades. That's the problem I think Met fans fall into a little bit. They're so concerned about the individual stats that they're cute, but look when individual stats occur. I talk about it all the time. They hit inconvenient home runs. And you might say, well, Pete Alonso hits 45 home runs a year easily. Yeah, but how many of those 45 home runs are inconvenient, that are irrelevant home runs, right? Talking about last year, how many home runs he hit in August and September, right? Or in July of last year when it really didn't matter because the Mets were out of it in June, right? Talk about his injury all you want, but look at his career stats, right? A lot of losing with Pete Alonso. You could do the same thing without him. Same thing goes for Lindor. So we have to look at it in many different ways. Is where they need to be obtainable? Yeah. They all need to play to the back of their baseball cards at similar times during the season, right? You can't have Francisco Lindor bat under 200 for the first 2 months of the season while Brandon Nimmo is the biggest RBI guy on your team. That's a problem, right? Pete Alonso still isn't 100 exactly what we usually see him as, and that's 2 months into the season. So you have your biggest run producers over the last 2 seasons in Francisco Lindor and Pete Alonso, and they're nowhere near playing to the back of their baseball cards in the first 2 months of the season. We're a week away from June. That's got to start changing. Nimmo, yeah, you would love to get his average up a little bit more, but he's the biggest RBI guy right now, so it's hard to kill Nimmo. Jeff McNeil is starting to pick it up a little bit. He needs to pick it up. This core 4 needs to start playing to the back of their baseball cards at the same time. You can't have Lindor do it in June and July and have Pete Alonso do it in August and September, and Jeff McNeil do it in April, and Brandon Nimmo do it in May, and it's all over the place. They got to do it together. If they do it together, guess what, guys? This team is going to look a lot better overall than what their record shows right now. Because the 2 best things that come out from this season so far that nobody could have predicted was the starting pitching and the bullpen better than the offense. Nobody predicted that. We ranked them prior to the season. What is our most concerning? It was number 1, starting pitching, number 2, bullpen, and number 3, lineup. Why? Because the lineup, we thought, or even last season, scored around 5.5 runs per game. 2022, they were just under 6. So why would we worry about a lineup that is scoring 5.5 runs per ball game? Because of the fact 5.5 runs per ball game statistically wins you more ball games. If you're under 5 runs per ball game, you're having a hard time winning ball games. Look at the teams that are not playing well right now. The Mets. Look at the teams around baseball that are scoring less than 5 runs per ball game. They're not winning a lot of games. And I can guarantee you the majority of them are under 500. Some way, somehow. And a lot of those teams are in the National League. So if you're scoring 5.5 runs per ball game, you're going to give yourself a better chance of winning daily. I'm not saying they have to score every day 5+ runs per ball game. That's stupidity, right? There's going to be 3-1 ball games you win, 3-1 ball games you lose, right? But when you average out weekly scoring 5.5 runs per ball games, that means you're scoring just over 3.5 runs per ball game, or at least a game on average, where you can win those ball games instead of losing those ball games. And that's the important thing. But the fact of the matter is, the core has to do their job. They have to play to the back of their baseball cards together. They can't sporadically put up good numbers in different months at different times, and then we give them all the accolades. We cheer them. Look at his numbers at the end of the year. Look at Lindor, 30 for 30. Look at Alonso, 110, 44. Beautiful. But look when them home runs were. I guarantee you Lindor was hot in those 2 months when Alonso was cold, and vice versa. And that includes Nimmo and McNeil as well. When have we seen Nimmo, Alonso, Lindor basically go absolutely buck wild crazy in 1 month, in any month of the season together? If they do this over a 10-game homestand, I'm pretty confident they can go 7-3 or better. And then watch how many Met fans are going to jump right back on that bandwagon right away. Especially beating up if you beat up on the Dodgers somehow, some way in the middle of this homestand, and you beat up on the 2 teams that you're chasing, the Giants and the Diamondbacks. People are going to jump on the bandwagon quicker than you could say, let's go Mets. Very simple. Very, very simple. So let's see what the comments are saying. We got Joel in here. We got BX in here. Let me see if I missed anybody else. We got Herv in here. Let me see, guys. I'm trying to catch up in the comments. Give me a second. I think I got everybody. Yes, I did. All right. Who else do we get here? We got BX. We got Joel. We got Doug. We got who else? Doug. Well, you know what? I'm not the only one, so I don't feel too bad, right? I don't feel too bad that I'm not the only one talking about the Mets on a daily, weekly basis, because there's a ton of Mets content creators out there who consistently talk about this clown show in the New York Mets, and we do it because why? We're diehards, and we're nutcase fans. It's just that simple. I don't care who you like as a YouTuber. You don't like watching their show. You do like watching their show. Doesn't matter. Fact of the matter is, they're all diehards. They all work hard to put content and live streams and videos out there for all you guys to watch on a consistent basis, right? We can easily stop and just not deal with it, right? It's probably a lot easier, but we love it too much. And shout out to everybody who bust their ass making videos and doing content on daily, weekly, monthly basis, because it is hard work and we love it. That's why we do it, right? We come on here, it's a therapy session for all of us. Just because I have a platform just like the other guys do, doesn't mean that this is only a therapy session for me. It's a therapy session for you. Like, I can't talk to my cat Shay every moment of every day. He'll be destroying the house if I talk to him on a daily basis about the Mets. He don't know what the hell I'm talking about. But you know what? He would even get sick of it. So at least we can voice our opinions together and have our therapy sessions together. I think that's even more important for all of us. All right, so let's see. We need the players that can play in New York City. I don't, but you don't know who can play in New York City. You just don't. Like, if they never played in New York City, how are you going to know? Like, a lot of people want Corbin Burns. He's played in Baltimore and Milwaukee. How do you know that he's going to be a New York City guy? He can play in New York. You don't. What you can do is try to get the best players available, and you hope they can play in New York. Isn't that what it always is? Right? Carlos Beltran looked like he couldn't play in New York year one. Edwin Diaz looked like he couldn't play in year one. Francisco Lindor, right? But they played better over time, right? They got better the following year, right? Beltran wasn't appreciated until after he was gone, right? Mets fans couldn't wait to get rid of Edwin Diaz after 2019 when we first got him. Lindor, oh my God, look what we did to him. We got to get rid of him. We can't sign him. That's the conundrum. But unfortunately, for the New York Mets and the New York Yankees, you hope you get the players that are who you get, that you believe are the best players for your team, or the best players on the market, or the best players you trade for, and you hope, because that's all it is, that they can play in New York. You can't think otherwise. You can't really, know unless, like Juan Soto, right? Free agent after this year. We're seeing it firsthand in the Bronx. He can play in New York. So you probably don't worry about that if he comes next year and wears the orange and blue, right? You're going to feel pretty confident that he can play in New York because you've seen it, right? There's certain players that can't, certain players that can, but we don't know that. It's hard to tell, right? There's a lot of free agents on the market, free agent guys on the list in this offseason that you probably want, but you can't definitively tell me that they can play in New York just because they have good numbers like Corbin Burns in Milwaukee and Baltimore. So it's hard to do that. Joel, I agree with you. Hey, CP, what's up? Well, Eloise, you could say we're calling down the players, but they're professionals. They need to take criticism, regardless of if you're in New York or not. You got to take criticism. I'm sorry, you can't. We can't sit here and just give them standing ovations every single day and say, "Don't worry, guys, it'll be okay," because it might not be. Like, people have to, and I think Met fans are starting to do this a little bit more. They have to get a little dose of reality. And the players, damn sure, need to get a dose of reality, because those comments last trade deadline by Alonzo, Nimmo, McNeil, and a lot of the other players on that team were mad at the front office that they were sellers. Like, they weren't the reason the front office sold at the deadline. Like, guys, your performance sucked. Every one of you guys. That's why you put the front office in that position. Like, it's nobody's fault but your own. So I don't want to hear, we get down on our players, we criticize it. What the hell are we supposed to do? First off, we spend money on this team. We watch this team on a daily basis. We spend our hard-earned money watching this team at Citi Field, around the country, in other ballparks. You watch them on TV. You're paying for streaming. You're paying for cable. You're paying somehow, some way to watch his team, right? You're spending your quality time, hours in a day, watching my channel, other Mets channels, watching shows about it. You watch Baseball Night in New York. You watch Mets pregame, Mets postgame. You spend a ton of hours per day during the baseball season, because that's what you want to do. You love it. But it's wrong to think that we can't criticize. And if players believe that we should not boo, not criticize, and just be happy-go-lucky and give you standing ovations and praise you for batting under 200, it's not happening. And I don't care if you're in New York or not. It does not happen. Sorry. Too bad. The fact is, if you can't handle it, maybe you should think about another career that is less criticized, right? It's kind of too late for them, right? They already got their career. So it is what it is. Well, Christopher, yeah, but see, I'm so sick about the hitting coaches, because come on, guys. You really think players are gonna listen 100% to their coach, to their hitting coaches or their pitching coaches? Or come on, like, I think a pitching coach is probably more important than a hitting coach. I'm sorry, you've hit your whole career. Like, Pete Alonso hit his whole career in high school, in college, in the minors, in the pros. You don't have to. You don't need Eric Chavez to tell you. You know what? You should hold your bat like this. You should keep your arms a little bit up more. I'm sorry. You know what you're doing as a professional hitter. You watch enough video to know on your own. Sometimes when you're pitching, you need that little coaching to say, "Hey, listen, you're dropping your arm a little bit. Your mechanics are off. You're speeding up. Slow your pace. Slow your mechanics down." Like, that's a whole different story. I'm sorry. When you're a major leaguer and you've been hitting your whole life, and you've been either the best player on a team or one of the best throughout your years of baseball in high school, college, minor leagues, you know what you have to do. What I don't understand is that why major league players so often change something that was working, right? Pete Alonso in 2022 was a really good hitter, not just power-wise. He was an overall good hitter. Why go into 2023 changing something that didn't need to be changing? And that goes for Lindor as well. That goes for Nimmo. That goes for McNeil. Makes no sense. I think they get bored and they feel like changing stuff, even if it's for the worst, and they don't realize that until it happens. And then they wonder why they're not putting up the numbers that they did last year or the year before that. I think these players got so much, they got so much time on their hands that they feel like if they're not changing anything, they're not working hard, which is the most idiotic thing to do. Stick to what got you to the majors. Stick with what got you a really good year. In 2022, there should be no reason why any hitter that was back for the Mets in 2023 change anything. Made no sense, regardless of the outcome in 2022, results wise, for the team. Individual seasons were really damn good, yet you change your whole philosophy of hitting that helped you have a career like you had in 2022 or a season like you had in 2022. Makes no sense. Makes no sense at all. So hitting coaches, I think, are so irrelevant. And I think it's just somebody to use as a scapegoat, good or bad. If the Mets are hitting well, right. 2022, it was all about Eric Chavez, right? He got praised. 2023 wasn't the hitting coach. 2024 is the hitting coach, yet they're hitting like they did in 2023. So is it the hitting coach or is it the players too much in their damn heads? Very simple. Yeah, Daniel, but it's not. I'm sick and tired of that because 2015 was that a once in a lifetime thing? No, it's not because you could say that about a lot of teams. I think the Arizona Diamondbacks was a one-hit wonder as well, right? And they made the World Series last year, and they're nowhere near playing the way they did last year. So it's not a one-year wonder. They played better because they performed better because they were playing the way they're supposed to play. Everybody was playing at the right time, similar most of the time, together, playing to the back of their baseball cards. They're not doing that now. I'm sorry, there was a lot of guys here in 2022. Now, you could talk about the pitching staff being better, absolutely. But you also had Scherzer back in 2023. You had the Cy Young in 2024. 2023. I'm sorry, 2022. The play for you in 2023. So the rotation was set, and you also had Senga. So the rotation was supposed to be good, right? They didn't perform. It is what it is. But I hate when people talk about, oh, that year was a fluke. Well, are you sure? Was it? Or did they actually play to the back of their baseball cards more often than not at the same time for the most part in that year? The problem is, and you could look at the numbers, right? Lindor will have a really good May, but nobody else does. Alonso will have a great June, but nobody else does. You might get two of the four core guys doing really well in a month, but you never get three or four. And I'm glad Herb brought up the Yankees, though. Right? Herb brought up the Yankees because look at the Yankees. Right? They consistently have two guys just playing well in a month, maybe even three, possibly four. Right? That's why they consistently win games in a regular season because they consistently have two or three guys playing extremely well in a month. And it might change players over the next month, but they always have that consistent two or three players that are just putting up the numbers they're supposed to, playing to the back of their baseball cards. The Mets don't seem to do that enough. It clicked in 2022. The core guys are the same guys that are the core guys in 2024. That didn't change. Or 2023. The fact is, they didn't do what they did in 2022. They're consistently not playing well together at the same time when you need at least two guys consistently every month playing their absolute best back of their baseball card, because that's how you win ball games. You can't have one guy do it because one guy can't win every ball game for you or as many ball games as you every single month when you only got one guy who is doing their job every month. Look at the numbers. They're so sporadic. Yet at the end of the year, They put up solid individual numbers, but look when them numbers happened. Pete Alonso was great in April. Great. That was it. Nimmo was great in May. Wonderful. No, Lindor was great in June. Great. McNeil was great in July. And then it seems like it switches up again. Who's going to be it in August and September? Like, they got to start doing this together, or it's going to be the same old bullshit over and over again. Why I don't think this core together is the right people to go forward in the future. Because if that decision is made that they believe in these four guys, you're going through the prime years of Lindor, McNeil, Nimmo, and Alonso. And you're saying that's the guys you trust going forward. And if you do that, fine. But I don't think I can be a believer in that. But they need to prove me wrong. I thought 2022 was the breaking point, was the takeoff point, to use a better term, where they are actually doing what they're supposed to do. I thought that this was going to take them to the next stratosphere, regardless of the results at the end of the year, right? Because the team results, individual stats as a team were so good that you didn't even have to change much the following year. But they didn't do that. They changed what was working, and that made no sense. So that's where we are at the moment. Yeah, Daniel, yeah, that's total bullshit. 100% total bullshit. Because how are free agents looking at the Texas Rangers 2 years ago when Seager and Simeon signed? Who was on that team? Nobody. A team that never won a World Series in their history, who were constantly bad, consistently bad. So I don't want to hear that. That is nonsense. Oh, everybody looks at the Mets team and they're not good. They're not going to come here. Yes, they will. Money talks 99.9% of the time. 0.1% of the time, it might not matter. The fact of the matter is, Simeon and Seager went to the Texas Rangers not because of their great history or recent great history. They went there because they got the most money from the Texas Rangers. That's why DeGrom went there. And that's why other players went there. That's why Jordan Montgomery That's why other players went there as well. It's very simple. It's not hard to figure out. Players would go to the Pittsburgh Pirates if they paid them the most money. The Chicago White Sox, if they're having a terrible year, probably the worst team in baseball. You don't think in the offseason, if they want Juan Soto, Corbin Burns, Walker Buehler, if they give those guys the most money, where do you think they're going to go? They're going to go to the south side of Chicago because that's what players do. Very rarely does a player who's a free agent takes less money to go elsewhere. Unless it's a player that they had on their team, i.e. Aaron Judge, who did get the most money ever until Ohtani. So you got to look at it into the spectrum of these players are getting the most money. Juan Soto won't be a Yankee if he doesn't get the most money. And no, it doesn't have to be close. Sorry, that doesn't work like that. All right? And I'm not talking about $1 million, $2 million. I'm talking about if there's any more than $10 million or more higher, he's going elsewhere. I don't care if it's the Mets, if it's the Cubs, Red Sox. I don't care what team you name. The fact of the matter is that player is going to that team. All right? Javier Baez, who was still considered a very good shortstop, went to the Detroit Tigers. I know everybody had that team picked for Javier Baez. You know why Javier Baez went to the Detroit Tigers? I know, because they've been so good, right? Their results are great. Look at their history over the last 20 years. Excited. Why did he go there? Because they paid him the most money. Yeah, Michael, well, your owner don't think so. Because your owner thinks that they can't afford a $300 million payroll long term. Boo-hoo. If Hal Steinbrenner doesn't sign Juan Soto, if you're a Yankee fan, Why bother? That would be the most idiot. It would be more. It's more stupid to not sign Juan Soto than it was to sign Aaron Judge. It would be worse not signing Juan Soto than if the Yankees didn't sign Aaron Judge. Just simple. And your owner already came out and said it. They're trying to extend Juan Soto now because they know they're not going to be the biggest offer. You got to read the tea leaves, Michael. Hal Steinbrenner is putting that out there. Yes, we want to try to get an extension with Juan Soto, because why do teams try to get an extension with a player? To save money. You don't give an extension or try to give an extension or give extension offers to a player that is not going to save them money in the offseason. It's very simple. You have to understand that. You have to get that. Like, no team is offering you an extension and it's going to be player friendly. It's going to be team friendly. It's very simple. And the reason why the Yankees are trying to extend him, number one, of course, it's going to make the fans excited because you're trying, and that's always what you want your owner to do. But reading the tea leaves, the Yankees traded for Juan Soto. It's not like they added a ton to their payroll because of Juan Soto and his number. They got Juan Soto, and it's still at the rate that he still currently has on his arbitration years or his last year. So you have to understand that he's trying for an extension. Now, do I believe that Juan Soto would probably prefer the Yankees? Yes, but he's not taking a discount in the offseason when he's a free agent officially, when anybody can get him. The Yankees have to give an extension number that is so outrageous that even Hal Steinbrenner is shaking in his seat, in his office. That is shaking to his core. So, for anybody who believes that a player is not going to go to a team because of their past results, you're wildly mistaken. Because last time I checked, in 2021, the New York Mets weren't a good team. Why did Max Scherzer, who was one of the better pitchers in baseball at the time, even at his age, come to the New York Mets? Because he liked the colors? Because the Mets were so good? No, because they gave him the most money. That's what happens. Garrett Cole went to the Yankees not because he was a Yankee fan growing up and had a sign in right field when he was younger, because the Yankees gave him the most money. You don't think Garrett Cole would have went back to the Astros if the Astros matched the Yankees offer? I guarantee you he would have. That was already a championship team. Why would he leave? No, but Michael, I'm not even talking about. See, that's where you're not understanding, Michael. I'm not saying Juan Soto's going to the Mets. I'm saying Juan Soto's going to the biggest offer, regardless of who it is. Now, in my opinion, I think it's going to be more East Coast leaning than West Coast. I don't think he wants to be on the West Coast, and that's including the middle of the country towards the West Coast. Now, from the middle of the country to the East Coast, that's where he'll probably be. No, Daniel, I'm not assuming. It's obvious. I don't know if you're talking about me. Yeah, okay, Daniel, but you don't know that's going to be a failure. You don't know that. The Mets can sign Juan Soto and it can be a failure. Was it a bad signing when they made it? No. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's understandable. The fact is, I don't know if Juan Soto is going to be a Met. I don't know if he's going to be a Yankee, but I know he's going to take the biggest offer. Because if you think Scott Boras and Juan Soto are taking an extension, regardless of the team, and obviously it would be with the Yankees if that's the case, the Yankees would have to blow him out of the water. and it's not going to be a team-friendly deal or a discount from Juan Soto. It's just not happening. You don't give extensions. Organizations don't give extensions to a player and they don't benefit from it financially just by a contract. Like David Wright's contract for the Mets was very team friendly. Even Aaron Judge took less money to go back to the Yankees. The Yankees should have lost Aaron Judge if he would have took the most money. But the fact that he was already probably not going elsewhere, and he just wanted to drive the Yankees price a little bit more, closer to what the Giants offered or the Padres offered or whatever team that actually made the highest offer, it's fine. Oh yeah, Michael, look, you don't offend me. I look, you've been on my channel enough. I know how it is. It's cool. Trust me. I'm not gonna go cry in a corner. I tell you that right now. The fact is, the most money is going to be the case for Juan Soto, especially when Scott Boras had a failure of an offseason last year. His prized possession in Juan Soto, he's not going to let that happen and Juan Soto to have less, take less, regardless of where it is. Because I remember comments when Juan Soto says he loves playing at Citi Field when he was a Washington National. Right? He said that. That was a quote, and Met fans went crazy. So I could take his quote and say, well, he wants to be a Met. He talked about Citi Field, right? Michael, I don't know what they do with Alonso, but I tell you right now, if the Mets can only sign, or if I had to choose one, Alonso or Soto, it's Juan Soto. I would put all my chips into Juan Soto, not Pete Alonso. If it has to be only one and you have to choose, I would choose Juan Soto. Now, I'd rather have both on the team, but if I had to choose one and that was the option, I would choose Juan Soto every single time, morning, night, day, afternoon. Doesn't matter. I want to start a sports channel, Rob. I need you to help. I will pay you. Michael, I don't know if you have my email, but you don't have to pay me. I think that's a little crazy. I mean, I've helped people with their logos and channels as well. Yes, they paid me, but that was like not a subscriber. But you don't have to. I mean, I'll help you out. I mean, it seems difficult, but it's really not. You just gotta know how to make your logo, how to make your thumbnails, and all that fun stuff. How to set up live streams or videos and stuff like that. So, all right, let's finish it up with the trade deadline as a whole, as we're almost getting to an hour of the first Mets Talk Live of the season, and it is a weekly morning show for the morning Met fans that are at work, that are sitting at home, not at work yet, or ready to go to work, or are at work, or off today, whatever you might be. Try to give a little bit of morning Mets talk perspectives for the people who can't really watch it at night or want to finally get a live show in during the day and not going crazy while they're home trying to watch a show and dealing with kids and life and family and all that stuff. So hopefully you're not working too hard and you're enjoying the show. So let's get to the final topics of the day that we're going to combine together. July 30th is the trade deadline. 58 games until the trade deadline for the New York Mets. That includes their 10-game homestand. I believe the Mets need a 7-3 or better homestand to stay relevant these last 58 games to the deadline. That's where it's probably going to be telling where the Mets direction is leaning towards and where the conversation is leading to, which will be sell mode. Where's Alonso going to go? Is Stearns going to trade Alonso and others? But Alonso is going to be the main topic, obviously. So it's up to Alonso, Lindor, McNeil, Nimmo, and company to not have that make that conversation not happen, at least after the homestand. Have a good homestand. Put your foot down and say this is not going to be the case at Citi Field during this homestand. Make the decision hard. Make the question and the conversation after this homestand be about, wow, the Mets do have a chance for this wild card. They're only a game out. They're playing better. And that was a rough 10-game homestand. You got the Giants and Diamondbacks who's in front of you by the wild card in a couple of games. You got one of the best teams in baseball in the Dodgers in the middle of this homestand. If you have a good homestand, 7-3 or better, guess what? The conversation is not going to be about where the Mets are going to trade Alonso and others. It's going to be, hey, maybe the Mets can go on a little bit of a run prior to the deadline. Stay within striking distance of a wild card spot. Because I do believe 3 games or less right by the deadline is where they have to be in striking distance to make David Stearns not become sellers on the team. That's my opinion. Consuelo, how are you? Yeah, Daniel, I agree. Yeah, Michael, I agree. I don't think David Stearns is going to blow up a team that is within 3 games of a wild card spot, because we've seen it the last couple of seasons. And you could say, oh, the rosters were better. Doesn't matter. The fact is, all you need, just like the Phillies did, just like the Diamondbacks did, they went on a run for a month at the end of the season. And they took it into the playoffs and both made the World Series. 2 teams that had started off good, sucked the middle of the year, and that final month they played really well. I go back to the Phillies in 2022. The Mets embarrassed them regular season-wise. They were a bad defensive team, a bad bullpen team. Their offense was pretty good. Their starting pitcher was a little bit above average. But their defense was terrible, one of the worst in the league. And their bullpen was they were like 15th, like 13th or 14th in the National League. They were that bad. You're telling me their bullpen and defense got better out of a miracle? No. It got better because they made certain decisions at the deadline. They actually, if you remember, the Phillies actually worked on their defense once they fired Joe Girardi and got the new manager. They worked on their defense a lot more, and they added at the deadline in their bullpen. And they only got 2 guys. Yet the other guys in that bullpen got better because of those 2 guys, because they switched up who was pitching where. It's simple things like that can change everything. The Diamondbacks were dying by the wayside. They made a couple of moves at the deadline, turned it into a very excellent month, and they just sniffed the wild card, and they made the playoffs. And when the playoffs started, and I told you in 2022 and 2023, when the playoffs started, the Phillies and the Diamondbacks the last 2 seasons were going to go on a historic run. We would all laugh at each other because that's just a fact. The fact of the matter is the 10-game homestand is really going to determine where this team is after this homestand. 5-5 doesn't change minds. Even a losing homestand doesn't change minds in his team of what they're thinking today prior to tonight's game. What will change minds in the positive direction is a 7-3 or better homestand. That's it. It's not going to determine buyers or sellers at the deadline yet. You'll still have 48 games after this homestand. It's a lot of games to go prior to the deadline. But it will change some minds, especially if you play well. And like you see at the bottom right of your screen, the I'm sorry. The San Francisco Giants record is wrong. I apologize for that. But the San Diego Padres are 500. They are leading the third wild card. Right? The Chicago Cubs are 3 games over 500. They're the second wild card. Right? Take away Atlanta. Right? The Giants are a game under 500. The Diamondbacks are a couple games under 500. And the Mets, way down there, are 7 games under 500, but they're only 4 back of a wild card spot. You got 2 teams you're facing in the homestand that are a few games ahead of you. If you beat them, guess who's going to move up? The New York Mets. And the Padres have been inconsistent. They've lost a few, won a few, lost a few, won a few. They're 500. Only a week ago, the Mets were that. So it can change rather quickly. So it can happen fast. But to finish up the show, guys, 58 games until the trade deadline. July 30th is the trade deadline. The Mets are starting a 10-game homestand tonight against the San Francisco Giants. The core 4 needs to start playing well together, and it starts tonight when that homestand begins, and show that they actually can provide some type of offense at Citi Field. Wouldn't that be newsworthy? All right, guys. Once again, before we end the stream, some channel news. There will be a channel logo t-shirt up for pre-sale on Monday. Later today, I'm going to put up 3 different designs of a shirt with my channel logo and my channel motto for real Mets fans. It's going to be 3 different designs. The shirt is going to be black, but it's going to have my channel logo and my channel motto, which is for real Mets fans, some way, somehow on the design of a shirt. 3 different designs. I'm going to put up a poll later today, and it's going to stay up until Monday morning when the pre-sale will start for that specific shirt that gets the highest votes. So I'll give you the option. Everybody who sees it, look out for the community post later today of those 3 options of a shirt. The shirt will be $25. That includes shipping and everything else that goes in with it. I'll throw in a couple of channel stickers, and maybe I'll throw some stuff, maybe certain special, some might get a little bit more in it or less. Again, it'll be random. I'll just put it in while I'm putting the shirts in envelope in little the boxes for you, and I'll throw some stuff in there. You might get something really cool other than channel stickers, but it'll be very random. So just go like that quickly. So Monday, if you're interested, the shirt that will be for sale is the one that everybody, all the subscribers vote on, starting later today up until Monday morning. Once that happens, that shirt is going to be the shirt that will be up for sale. So the pre-sale is, why do I have a pre-sale? Because I want to know what size you are. I want to make sure you get your right size. I get your information. And then when I get all the sizes for that pre-sale, the pre-sale is going to be a week from Monday, Memorial Day, until Sunday. So you get 7 days to purchase a pre-sale t-shirt. I get all the numbers. I see how many shirts I got to order. I'll order the shirts. They'll come to me. And then when you actually pre-sale and you pay for it, you'll give me your email so I can tell you, hey, I'm sending your shirt today. And then you have an idea that your shirt's coming and it's on the way. So the pre-sale is to know how many shirts I need, what size, and your information, your email and address, and your name, obviously, your full name. So I have all that information. So when I get the shirts and I start mailing them out, I can email you guys and saying, hey, today's the day I sent your shirt. And you should expect it whenever the post office actually sends it, or UPS or FedEx, whatever I'm going to use. Whatever's quicker, I probably use. It's a little bit safer and it's quicker for everybody. Everybody wants their damn shirts. All right. So with that said, make sure later today, You have your notifications on. How do you get your notifications on? You press that bell next to the subscribe button. So you get notifications when I go live, when I post videos, and when I post on my community page on my channel. So look out for that today, because if you don't vote, you don't get a say in what shirt is the winner. I think you would want that, right? Because if you really want a shirt, but you don't like the design because you didn't vote or it didn't win, that kind of sucks. And I'd rather you have an opinion about it. But I want the majority to choose what shirt. So make sure today, around 2 or 3 o'clock, the post is going to go up. It's going to stay up until Monday morning. Once the poll Monday morning hits at 9 a.m., the poll is closed. And the shirt that wins is going to be in production. And during that week of Monday, Memorial Day, until the end of the week, Sunday, you'll be able to purchase pre-sale a t-shirt, $25, nothing else, no tax, no shipping, $25 straight fee. You get that pre-sale done when you send it. I'm going to give all the information on that community post, right? I'm going to give all the information ready to go on the community post, right? I'm going to give the Venmo, PayPal options, right? Mail-in is going to take too long for check-wise, so I apologize if anybody doesn't have that. But, Cash App, Venmo, PayPal, all that will be available on that community post. So if you want a pre-sale over the week, because it's got a week, and then, I'll do another pre-sale later on after that, but I want to get all that pre-sale for the first week. How many that is, who knows? When you do purchase it, and I will put this as a disclaimer on the poll, if you send the pre-sale, Venmo, PayPal, Cash App, make sure there's a message you can send along with the payment. Your email, your full name, and your address. So I got all that information. Oh, sorry. So email, your full name, your address, and the size of the shirt you want. So if you want 3 shirts, let me know the sizes. So you're going to need all that. But I will have that in the community post later today with the poll. If you don't care about the design and whichever one wins, you want that regardless, Monday is the day to start the pre-sale. And I will have all the information up available ready for you guys. So with that said, thank you for tuning in to the first Mets Talk Live of the season, the weekly morning show. You will get weekly throughout the season for you morning people that want to talk about the Mets. So with that said, have a good day. Let's go Mets. The homestand starts tonight against the Giants with Christian Scott on the mound. Have a good day, guys. Let's go Mets. I'll see you next time. Have a great day.
Meet the Mets, meet the Mets. Step right up and greet the Mets. Bring your kiddies, bring your wife. Guaranteed to have